Alexandra, I have a present for you. That's what my father said on a snowy Christmas night as he handed me a large, bright red suitcase. Under the warm glow of the living room lights, it shimmered eerily, almost as if it was foreboding an extraordinary, unthinkable journey ahead. He then continued, "This is the last time you are here. Don't come back here again, and don't ever contact us. My name is Alexandra, and I'm 27 years old. This is the story of how I was betrayed and systematically exploited by the very family I trusted, branded as no longer needed, and cast aside, only to climb back from the depths of despair until I reclaimed my freedom and my own worth. Several years before that dreadful night, I was living a quiet but fulfilling life in a small apartment away from the bustle of the city. Each morning, I'd wake up to the sunlight streaming through my window, start my day with the aroma of freshly ground coffee, and feel grateful for the simple, peaceful routine that had become my treasure. But I held a secret dream. A dream I had never shared with anyone. I wanted to start my own consulting firm one day. I didn't want to be just another cog in a corporate machine. I wanted to use my own knowledge and experience to help struggling small businesses directly. Fueled by that passion, I worked tirelessly at my day job, soaking up every bit of expertise I could. At night, I devoured business books, and on weekends, I attended seminars and built professional connections. Most of my salary was allocated meticulously to what I called my independence fund. I carefully divided each dollar into envelopes labeled with specific savings goals. Every time I saw those envelopes growing thicker, I felt my dream getting closer, more tangible, and it filled me with a fierce sense of purpose. But that fragile balance in my life began to crumble the year the world was swallowed by the global financial crisis. The year of the bankruptcy of the Lehman Brothers. It was a mid-sized manufacturing company where my father had worked for decades. Due to the crisis, it suffered devastating losses. Faced with an existential threat, the company resorted to massive layoffs, and my father was, tragically, among those let go. One Sunday night, when I called home as usual, I heard my mother's trembling voice through the receiver. "I don't know what your father is going to do now. We still have to pay for Christina's tuition for 2 more years, not to mention the mortgage." On the other end of the line, my proud father stayed silent while my mother wept uncontrollably. Their despair crackled through the phone line. It was almost tangible. My independence fund. It was the product of my blood, sweat, and tears, my future itself. But my family, who had raised me, was on the brink of losing everything. How could I possibly prioritize my dream over them? "Don't worry. I'll take care of it." Before I even realized it, the words had slipped from my lips. And so, I made the heavy decision to freeze my dream, to break into my future, my independence fund, to support my family. I had no idea then that this decision would become my one-way ticket to hell. To spare my father's pride, I decided to send $1,200 a month to their account, framing it as temporary financial help until Dad finds another job. I continued living in my small apartment, and every payday, I went to the ATM to transfer the money home. That routine became my new normal. For the first few months, things were peaceful. My family was truly grateful for my support. Whenever I visited, my mother would hold my hands with tears in her eyes. "Alexandra, you've saved us. I don't know what we would have done without you." Even my father muttered, "I'm sorry," to apologize. And my younger sister, Christina, who is usually very stubborn, even said, "Thanks, Alexandra. Because of you, I can continue my studies." Each of those words felt like painkillers for the ache of putting my dream on hold. But it didn't take long for the painkillers to wear off. Humans, it seems, can get used to anything. As my father's job hunt dragged on, the air in the house began to change. Slowly, but unmistakably. Each month when I visited, I noticed small, troubling changes. One day, I stepped into the living room and saw a brand new large-screen TV. "When did you buy this?" I asked. My mother smiled proudly. "Oh, Christina bought it, with the money she earned from her part-time job." Another time, Christina showed up with a new designer handbag. "Nice bag," I said. She grinned with pride. "Isn't it? My part-time job's been paying better lately." While I spent hours scouring outlet stores to find reasonably priced suits for work, Christina was casually wearing $300 designer dresses. When I asked, "What kind of part-time job pays that well?" she pouted and snapped back, "You're such a workaholic, Alexandra. Maybe you don't care about fashion, but I do. I need to enjoy my youth. And besides, I'm helping out with the family too, you know. Then, almost instantly, our mother jumped in to defend her. That's right. Christina's been doing so much for this family. Alexandra, don't be so uptight all the time. I realized then that my sacrifices, once appreciated, had somehow been reframed as an obligation I owed them, something expected. The gratitude that had been expressed so sincerely had vanished, leaving only entitlement in its place. Then one day, I heard something that shattered the last bit of denial I had left. When I visited my parents' house, I happened to overhear Christina talking on the phone with a friend in the living room, speaking just loud enough for me to hear. Yeah, things have been tough for my parents lately. I've been sending them $1,200 every month to help out, so we're just barely managing. $1,200? That was exactly the amount I had been sending home every month. And Christina had never once shown signs of earning that much money. What was she talking about? A few days later, I called my father, and in the background, I heard him chatting with one of his golf buddies. Yeah, my daughter's amazing. She's been giving us $1,200 a month. We couldn't get by without her. At the time, I tried to believe they were talking about me. I wanted to believe it, but deep down, something cold began to stir inside me, an almost certain suspicion taking root. And it was a casual conversation with my mother that finally confirmed it. The next time I visited home, I asked her casually, Mom, about the $1,200 I've been transferring every month. Is it really helping with the household expenses? For a split second, her eyes darted nervously. What? You? You've been sending money? She looked genuinely confused as she went on. But Christina told us she's been transferring her part-time earnings every month. Wait, you've been sending money too? Something cracked inside my head. My vision went white. Mom, have you ever checked the sender's name on the bank statement? In response to my question, she shook her head. No, Christina always tells us, I sent the money, so I never thought to check. And there it was. Christina had been pretending that my $1,200 transfers were hers, that she was the one supporting the family. And my parents, without ever checking the account details, believed every word she said. Panicked, I tried to explain. Wait, what are you talking about? You told me to send money every month. Christina isn't paying $1,200. I'm the one who's been transferring that amount. Check the name on the statement. If it's really from her, then I guess you don't need mine anymore, right? My mother quickly replied, I'm sorry, I must be mistaken. I'll check it later, don't worry. And left to go shopping. But from that day forward, something in the way I saw my family changed completely, and quietly, I began to prepare for the day the truth would come out. I started gathering evidence, copies of every bank transfer receipt, detailed statements, and proof of my family's excessive spending. Whenever I visited home, I discreetly took photos of anything relevant and uploaded them to the cloud, making sure no one would ever find out. Outwardly, I behaved as if nothing had changed, like a swan gliding serenely across the surface of a lake while paddling furiously beneath. Inside, however, I was suppressing a firestorm of rage and humiliation. I kept working, kept sending $1,200 every payday, as though nothing had happened. Everyone knew the family's finances rested entirely on my narrow shoulders, yet Christina's sense of entitlement only grew more grotesque by the day. One afternoon, when I stopped by the house, Christina said offhandedly, Hey, I want to go on a graduation trip to Europe with my friends. My mother immediately responded, That sounds wonderful. You've been helping with the household so much, you deserve a little reward. My father nodded. She's right. You've done so much for us, Christina. Go have some fun. My contribution was invisible, erased. Only Christina's imaginary generosity was celebrated. Watching them, something inside me froze over completely. And then it happened. The moment that ended everything. One night, I stopped by the house late to pick up something I'd forgotten. As I opened the front door, I heard laughter coming from the living room. It was my father and Christina. From the way they talked, it sounded like they had just come back from dining at some fancy restaurant, one I'd never even heard of. They hadn't noticed me. I stood in silence as they sat down on the sofa with satisfied sighs. That was delicious. Thanks to you, we can indulge like this once in a while, my father said with satisfaction. Christina giggled in response. Right? I'm giving you $1,200 every month after all. I deserve a bit of luxury. Life would be so dull if I lived like Alexandra, so plain and boring. My father chuckled and added, You're absolutely right. Alexandra's never been much help anyway. We're lucky to have a daughter like you. So thoughtful, so dependable. I felt the blood drain from my entire body at those shocking words. A sour taste rose in the pit of my stomach. Quietly, I closed the front door and walked away. There was no love left in me, not even resentment or sorrow. What remained in my heart was not all-consuming anger nor tearful sorrow, but a cold, icy numbness that extended to the very depths of me. That night, my mind was made up completely. Someday, the truth will come to light. Until that day came, I would keep gathering evidence, silently, patiently. As Christmas approached, my parents started calling more often. Let's spend Christmas together this year, as a family. I couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope at my mother's message. I couldn't help but cling to a faint hope that they might finally recognize my efforts and be kind to me at least for Christmas. On Christmas night, the living room was filled with laughter and a modest feast laid out on the table. After dinner, my father disappeared into the other room and came back carrying a large box. He set it down in front of me. Alexandra, I have a present for you. My heart leapt. I hadn't expected anything. I untied the ribbon and opened the box. Inside was a brand new, bright red suitcase, the kind you'd take on a trip. As I stared at it in confusion, Christina said proudly, Go on, open it, Alexandra. I unzipped the suitcase. Inside were all the belongings I'd left at my parents' house. Childhood stationery, my high school albums, my college diploma, even spare clothes and makeup I kept there for overnight stays. All of my memories, every trace of my life in that house had been stuffed carelessly into that suitcase. As I stood there frozen, my father said coldly, This is the last time you are here. Don't come back here again. And don't ever contact us. What? I couldn't comprehend what I was hearing. What are you saying? I asked, my voice trembling. My mother sighed in exasperation. Why, Alexandra, don't play dumb. Christina's been helping us with $1,200 every month, and you haven't done a thing. My father followed up sharply. To tell you the truth, I found a new job 6 months ago, but I couldn't stand watching you freeload off the family, pretending to benefit from Christina's hard work. You should learn from your sister. She's been paying $1,200 every month for this household. It felt like someone had struck me across the head. Wait, what are you talking about? I'm the one who's been sending... Before I could finish, Christina cut in, her tone dripping with mockery. What are you saying, Alexandra? Are you trying to steal credit for what I've done? That's pretty pathetic. That's right, Alexandra. You've always tried to take credit for your sister's achievements. I'm done with your lies. My mother's glare was sharp as glass. Desperate, I pleaded, Mom, please, just check the bank book. Look at the sender's name, it's... But my father's roar cut me off. Enough. How dare you lie like this to take credit from your sister? Have you no shame? We raised you, we gave you everything, and this is how you repay us? Learn from your sister. You're no use to this family anymore. At that moment, something inside me shattered completely. I didn't even cry. Instead, a cold, hard determination rose from the depths of my stomach, like steel forged in ice. All right. I stood up quietly, took hold of the red suitcase, and walked toward the door. Behind me, I could hear their smug laughter. As I stepped out, I could hear Christina's voice from the living room. Finally, she's gone. Now we can live in peace. My mother laughed. Honestly, I never liked her. Always so arrogant. Without looking back, I stepped into the freezing night. Pulling the bright red suitcase behind me, I thought, they probably think they've cast me out powerless. But the truth would be revealed in time. I couldn't help but wonder what faces they would make. I chose to wait quietly for that day. The first month after I left home that Christmas night passed uneventfully. In my small apartment, I placed the red suitcase in a quiet corner and slowly began to rebuild my rhythm. For the first time in years, I was free from the burden of sending $1,200 every month. I could finally save for myself again. That simple fact began to heal me, little by little. Meanwhile, in my parents' house, my absence began to cause inevitable changes. It started about a month after I left. On payday, my father checked his bank account and froze. The balance was noticeably smaller than usual. Bills were piling up. "That can't be right. Something's off," he muttered. My anxious mother asked, "What's wrong?" "We're short on money this month. There should be $1,200 from Christina." At that, my mother's face went pale. Now that you mention it, she hasn't said anything about a transfer this month. She rushed out with the bank book and went to the bank to update it. When she returned, her face was as white as paper. "Listen, there haven't been any deposits this month or last month either." "What? That's impossible. Ask Christina." Christina looked up from her phone in the living room. "Christina, what about the $1,200 this month? Did you transfer it?" "Huh? What are you talking about?" "The $1,200 you've been giving us every month for the household?" The color drained from her face. I, that's... "Christina, don't tell me." My father's voice trembled. My mother opened the bank book and traced her finger down the list of past transactions. Then she stopped and went silent. They're all under the sender name Alexandra." "What?" My father snatched the book from her hands and stared at it himself. There it was, every month on the 25th for the past 2 years. A deposit of $1,200 under the name Alexandra. Realizing there was no way out, Christina began to mutter a confession. "Okay, the truth is, it wasn't my money. It was Alexandra's." "What?" My mother's scream echoed through the house. "You both always favored me anyway," Christina said weakly. "You never cared about Alexandra, so I thought it wouldn't matter if I took credit for what she did. Besides, I knew if I just told you I sent the money, you'd never bother checking the account." My father buried his face in his hands. "So, all this time, for 2 whole years?" "Yes. It was always Alexandra who transferred the money. I never paid a single cent." A heavy silence fell over the house. The only sound breaking it was the soft rustle of the stack of unpaid bills piled by the front door. Electricity, gas, water, mortgage. My father's salary from his new job could never cover such amounts. "What are we going to do?" my mother whispered, collapsing into tears. And as if to strike another blow, the following week brought a new set of envelopes. Credit card bills for the designer clothes and luxury bags Christina had splurged on. The total, over $50,000 in debt. "Christina, what is all this?" "I thought it'd be fine. I thought since I was paying $1,200 every month, we could afford it." Her excuse was drowned by her father's furious shouting, her mother's sobs, and the echo of chaos. The once peaceful house had turned into hell overnight. Finally, my father trembled as he muttered, "We need Alexandra. We have to ask her to come back, or at least start sending the money again." A few days later, my phone rang. The screen read Mom. For a moment, I hesitated. Then I answered, "Alexandra, thank goodness you picked up. Please, you have to start sending the money again." Her voice was desperate. "Why?" I asked calmly. "It's Christina. She lied. We checked the bank book, and it was you who gave us the money all along. I'm so sorry. Please, we really need your help." I replied quietly, "Mom, you called me a useless, arrogant liar who tried to steal my sister's achievements. Why would someone like that send you money again?" "We were wrong, I admit it. I'm sorry, truly, but we're still family, aren't we? Please forgive us." "Family? When you stuffed all my belongings into a suitcase and threw me out on Christmas night, you told me I was no longer needed. Would a family do that? If you had simply looked at the account name, you would have seen the truth. But you didn't. You just believed Christina and called me a liar." On the other end of the line, I heard the sound of my mother quietly sobbing, but my heart no longer wavered. The calls kept coming, first from my father, then my mother, and finally from Christina herself. "Please, just send the money again. We were wrong. Forgive us. Alexandra, help me, please." But my answer never changed. "I won't send anything ever again." Soon their tone shifted. "You have a duty to help your family. Have you forgotten everything we did for you?" You're heartless. No blood, no tears. The guilt tripping turned into veiled threats, but I no longer let their words touch me. Then I took the final step. I contacted a lawyer I had once met through work. I'm being harassed by my family, repeated calls and emotional threats. I want to take legal action. After hearing everything, the lawyer nodded. I understand. We'll start by sending a certified letter prohibiting further contact. If they persist, we'll proceed with legal measures. A few days later, the letter was delivered to my parents' home. An official notice, signed by the lawyer, forbidding all further communication with me. Violation would mean legal consequences. That same evening, my father called one last time. Are you serious about this? Yes, don't ever contact me again. To me, you're no longer my family. After those last words, I ended the call and blocked their number. A year has passed since then. Free from the burden of sending $1,200 per month, I've been able to save for myself again. Work is going well, and the dream of independence I once gave up on has started to feel within reach once more. From what I heard through friends, the situation at my family's home has become dire. My father's salary alone couldn't sustain them. My mother had to start working part-time. Christina, too, finally began a part-time job, but the weight of her past extravagance still crushes her, and she spends her days drowning in debt repayments. Worse than poverty, though, is what became of their hearts. My father calls Christina a liar. My mother blames her, saying, "If only you didn't exist." And Christina mocks them both, sneering, "How stupid can you be to be fooled like that?" They now live in a house filled with resentment and hate. And yet, when I heard all this, my heart remained perfectly still. No pity, no satisfaction, just the quiet understanding that every outcome was the result of their own choices. One evening, after work, I stood by my apartment window and looked out at the city lights. The warm glow filled the night, gentle and alive. In the corner of my room still sits that same red suitcase. Once, I lived shackled by something called family, barely breathing beneath their expectations. Now, that version of me feels like a stranger from another lifetime. Blood ties alone do not make a family. It was then that I truly understood, deep in my heart, that the real life my journey had begun with that single suitcase would only be complete not by making someone else unhappy, but by allowing myself to find happiness freely without anyone standing in my way. A true family is not defined by blood, but by mutual respect and support. I am now beginning to build my own family with my own hands. It is the bonds with friends who truly understand and respect me, and the future I will one day share with someone who genuinely loves me. That bright red suitcase still sits in the corner of my room. It stands as a symbol of my resolve never to return, and as a reminder of the door it opened to my new life. My life, at long last, has truly begun,